there's a very good chance that you already have or will in the near future be asked to evaluate the next project or the current project you're working on in terms of using Agile, or maybe Agile is an approach to consider. If you're a project manager and it is in fact your project that they're looking at, what are some things you should consider when doing so? Well, I would say the first and most important one is probably going to be, is the environment you're working in complex? Which is a strange question, and I urge you to read more into complexity to understand it further. Some great videos on our YouTube channel about exactly that. But essentially it's around how much uncertainty and volatility is there in your environment. Not just the project itself and the work being done, but the actual people and business around it. A simple rule of thumb can be, the more people, the more likely it is to be complex. So the larger the project is, the more likely you are to be working on a complex one. And of course, if you're doing something that's never been done before, it's almost definitely a complex environment. In which case, Agile is probably going to be the right fit, or the right answer. Some version of it at least. Now, another thing to consider is that it's going to require some pretty significant changes to the overall system. And again, system here is a word which has a specific meaning when I'm using it, which is essentially the overall organization. Not just the project or the project team, but even the people beyond that, the stakeholders and the people doing the work and the people impacted by the work. You're all part of this larger system. And if you want to work in an agile way, with using an agile approach, so to speak, it's going to require the journey towards that. Because it is a journey and it's going to require changing how we do things and changing how they do things. And changing what we do, that's pretty easy. Changing what they do, very much not easy. Try convincing your neighbor to change their eating habits, for example. Might not go over so well. It's possible, but it's not easy. And the final one, and I consulted with the best project manager I know, which is my wife, who still works as a project manager. And I said, well, what is another consideration? Let's say it is a complex environment. Let's say that we're willing to take on this journey of changing the system. What's the final consideration, or at least a consideration you think is important? And after a little bit of back and forth and consideration, she said, well, time. I said, well, a very poignant thing for a project manager to consider, right, is time. Because doing all this stuff, it's going to take time. It will take time to learn, take time to educate, it'll take time to implement. And if it's just a one-off short project, maybe the learning time is too expensive. Maybe it's cheaper to cobble through it and struggle with a non-appropriate approach for that one-time thing. Maybe. But maybe it's part of a larger set of criteria and a larger program, perhaps. In which case, sure, we will struggle a little bit at the beginning here, but once we've got up and running, it's going to pay dividends in the longer term. In which case, is it complex? Do we realize and we're willing to change the system? And we're willing to put in and accept the impact to time initially to what we're doing? Then yeah, Agile's almost definitely the right thing to do. And these are 3 things you should certainly consider as a project manager. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar with Pragmatic Shift. You can find more of our stuff under @PragmaticShift on all social media. I would love to be your Scrum Coach. And if you're interested in working with me, you can find my courses on pragmaticshift.com or about me as a coach under scrumcoach.uk. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out and gives us further reach to get to more professionals to help them on their journeys as well. Thank you again for watching.